Let me tell you about someone. His name doesn't matter. He was at his best friend's wedding. Music was playing, people were dancing, and the whole room was filled with laughter. And he stood there, in the middle of it all, feeling absolutely nothing. Not sadness, not anger. Just silence, like watching a movie through thick glass. He could see the happiness. He just couldn't feel it. And the scariest part? He had no idea why. Most people assume this is depression, but psychology tells a different story. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, a trauma researcher at Boston University, spent decades studying how emotional experiences get stored in the body and mind, and his conclusion was this: sometimes the human brain doesn't break down. It shuts down. Not from weakness, but from overload. When a person experiences too much emotional pressure for too long, stress, loneliness, rejection, burnout, the brain reduces emotional sensitivity, like turning down the volume on a speaker to protect it from damage. The problem is, it doesn't only turn down the painful sounds, it turns down everything, including joy, including excitement, including the feeling of being alive. This is what psychologists call emotional numbness. And here is something they rarely tell you. This doesn't happen to weak people. It often happens to the strongest ones. The overthinkers, the deep feelers, the people who carried too much for too long without letting anyone know, because they were taught to stay strong, to suppress reactions, to never show too much. And after years of emotional suppression, the brain slowly loses the habit of feeling naturally. You become calm on the outside and empty on the inside. There is also a modern factor making this worse. Think about what your brain experiences every single day: hundreds of notifications, endless short videos, constant stimulation, instant dopamine everywhere. When the brain is overstimulated like this every day, normal life starts feeling dull in comparison. A beautiful sunset, your brain barely registers it. A meaningful conversation, it feels emotionally flat. Neuroscientists describe this as dopamine desensitization. The brain's reward system becomes less responsive when it is constantly flooded with artificial stimulation. In other words, the more you chase stimulation, the harder it becomes to feel simple happiness. And then there is the intelligence factor. Research from psychologists, including Elaine Aron and Scott Barry Kaufman, suggests that people with high sensitivity and self-awareness often experience emotional disconnection more intensely, because awareness has a cost. When you analyze everything, every conversation, every situation, every emotion, you stop fully experiencing it. You are mentally present, but emotionally you are standing outside the moment, observing it instead of living it. Life becomes something you watch, not something you feel. But here is what I want you to understand. Feeling emotionally empty does not mean you are broken. It usually means your nervous system has been under too much pressure for too long, and emotions don't disappear forever. They get buried under stress, overstimulation, and years of emotional survival habits. Recovery is possible, but the solution is not just be happier. Research in nervous system regulation points to three things. First, reduce overstimulation. Give your brain even 20 minutes of genuine quiet per day, and it begins to restore emotional sensitivity. Second, stop suppressing emotions. You don't have to share them with everyone, but you need to acknowledge them to yourself through journaling, therapy, or honest conversation. Third, reconnect with small moments, not big exciting experiences, but morning light. A good meal, a deep breath. Because the brain relearns how to feel by being given slow, quiet moments to actually notice. The man at the wedding eventually figured this out. Not overnight, but slowly. He started putting his phone down more. He started saying what he actually felt. He started noticing small things again. And one day, at an ordinary dinner with two friends, he felt something. Nothing dramatic, just warmth, just connection, just being present. That was enough. Emotional numbness is not the end of feeling. It is a signal that something needs to slow down, something needs to change, something needs to be said out loud. Not that you are broken, but that you have been strong for far too long. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And tell me in the comments, When did you last truly feel a moment?